Now they will bring you some of the white cards. And that made some small adjustment in our agenda and hoping hopes of making us move a little more smoothly. And so we're going to open this evening with Representative David Gomber and what's your correct title right now? Lieutenant Adam Shanks. Sorry. Both of those are running unopposed to their respective positions as state representative and county sheriff. So rather than posing a bunch of questions to them, for them each up to 5 minutes, and they can tell you a little bit about themselves, and then the state Senate brings. We have a tomorrow right in front to our stayers, and she will hold up a little green card. And it's time for you when she starts the timer, and she'll hold up the yellow. In your 1 minute segments, you'll have a yellow card at 15 seconds. And in your 2 or 3 minute segments, you will have a yellow card at 30 seconds remaining. She holds up the red card. She's eyesight to me so I can see it. You're done. You must respect our time so that we can get through everything we have on the agenda tonight. With that, again, open. Please take the floor. Yes. Yes, you'll have to turn that microphone.
Well, thank you so very much, Gene. Thank you to the lead for hosting us tonight. And thank you all for coming out this evening. For those of you that are watching us virtually, the cookies were really good tonight. I'm sorry you missed them. And for those of you sitting way in the back, since we're not standing up, I just wanted to tell you I look particularly good tonight. I'm David Gomberg, your state representative. And I am a Democrat. So I have the Democratic nomination for this election, but I also got enough write-in votes in the Republican primary that I earned the Republican nomination. And then the Independent Party of Oregon also nominated me. So I don't want to seem cocky, but I'm feeling a little confident about this race. And you might ask, well, why am I here? Am I planning to do kind of some odd schizophrenic thing where I debate with myself? And the answer to that is no. I believe that your representatives should be visible, should be accessible, and should be accountable. So I'm here to hear your concerns and to answer your questions. Now, look, I've been in this position for 12 years now. I hope most of you know a little bit about me and you know a little bit about my record. And in that record, you'll find hopefully things that you agree with, and occasionally you may find some things you disagree with. I mean, that's normal. Look, my wonderful wife, Susan, doesn't agree with all of my votes. But I honestly believe that we have more in common than we do separating us. And that's an attitude, an idea, a belief that I take with me to Salem. And I have worked the last couple of years, not just to pass policies that I think are good for our part of Oregon, but also to build stuff. I like building stuff. And so 3 years ago, I coordinated a statewide infrastructure package that spent $100 million across the entire state, not in blue Oregon, not in red Oregon, not in purple Oregon, just in Oregon. And because I was able to put that together working with Republicans and Democrats, it shouldn't surprise you that House District 10 got a little bit extra in that package. I felt good about that. And the leadership the next session asked me to put together an economic development package using the same theory, working with Republicans, working with Democrats to try and support, in our case, our fishing industry, our small farmers, and our small businesses. And I was pleased with that package. And then last session, I used the same theory to work on housing. But my attitude toward housing is that if you didn't have cold water or clean water coming out of the tap and dirty water going down the drain, you weren't going to build much in the way of housing. You weren't going to be able to support the people who already live in our neighborhoods. So I was able to put together $100 million to support water and sewer needs across the entire state, with a large portion of that coming right back here to Lincoln County, helping out the town of Siletz, 1,100 people, a $12 million sewer problem. They couldn't manage that without our help. We brought the help home. Newport got some of that money. Lincoln City got some of that money. Walport got some of that money. And it builds upon what we're doing here in Newport, which I think is particularly important. That is to replace the most seismically vulnerable dams in the entire state of Oregon. $100 million project at this point, and we were able to bring money from the state. And then I was able to go back to Washington, D.C. and prevail upon our federal delegation to augment that with another $60 million. I've been working really hard to support our housing, to support our economy, and to support our people and our lifestyle here. A couple of other things I'd mention. Just down the hill from here on your way home, you'll pass the area where I was able to secure $8 million for housing at Hatfield, supporting the Hatfield Marine Science Center, but building housing for those people outside the inundation zone. And right here in this building, my goodness, they wanted to build a career technical center. And you're all familiar with the bond that we passed here. But before they could bring the bond to you, they needed some money from the state. And their governor forgot to put it in her budget. So I was able to prevail on legislative leadership to put $8 million back into the budget for this institution, and we can build on that, creating important and worthwhile jobs. Look, I spend every day trying to be visible, accessible, and accountable. I believe that's what you should expect from your legislative representatives, and I work very hard to do that, and I work very hard every single day to be a legislator that you can be proud of. So I thank you for spending some time this evening, and I'll look forward to your questions later this evening. Thank you all.
Well, thank you very much. Well, probably hear a little more from you later this evening. Now I'd like to introduce Lieutenant David Shanks. I'm sorry, I didn't get Adam Shanks. I have to admit I'm a little flustered. We've had quite a little bit sideways on us this afternoon. I will try to get myself together here and calm down. Adam Shanks, would you share a little bit about what you expect to do as your show?
Absolutely. Thank you, Gene, and thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. My name is Adam Shanks. I have been a Lincoln County resident since 1983. I started with the sheriff's office after graduating from Newport High School and then attending Lane Community College, where I obtained my criminal justice degree. In 1995, I started as a seasonal Marine cadet with our sheriff's office, working out on our boat patrols in the bays and rivers of Lincoln County. In 1997, I was hired as a patrol deputy, where I spent the majority of my first half of my career. As a patrol deputy, I patrolled all of Lincoln County, all of our communities, was appointed as a field training officer for our office to train new deputies that were onboarded onto our team. I also oversaw a reserve deputy academy and was the reserve deputy coordinator for our office. In 2005, I was promoted to patrol sergeant, where I oversaw scheduling of staff and all the training for our patrol teams. I oversaw our search and rescue team, and learned a lot in that role on how to become a leader. First line supervisor is a very difficult role for anyone that's been in that. There's a lot of pressure coming up and a lot of pressure coming down, and you learn how to navigate a lot of relationships very quickly to succeed and work on behalf of the people that you oversee. With that, I can also say it's also one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life. I really enjoyed doing that. I continued in that role for several years until 2017. Sheriff Landers, when he was elected to sheriff, appointed me to the administrative lieutenant position for our office. In that position for the last 7 years, I have overseen policy and procedure development. I oversee our emergency management department, and I oversee risk management, our wellness program for our team. That is one thing that I have learned to, I have a great deal of passion for. Our job in public safety is very difficult, and our teams are exposed to a lot of trauma and deal with a lot of trauma-rich situations. And something that for many years in law enforcement, we just pushed aside. I'm very happy and very thankful that we've had the support to build out programs for our teams, both in peer support. We have a contract with a therapist now for direct services for our team members. We talk and discuss things about everywhere from nutrition to fitness to suicide. and mental health issues and how to address those. And it's okay not to be okay. So I'm very proud of where we've come and what we've done for our teams to ensure that they're their best selves so they can be their best selves when they're out serving our community. With that, the reason I actually ran ran for this position, I've been here for 27 years serving this community. I started in a system many years ago that was basically built on arrest, incarcerate, release, repeat. And I saw that didn't work very well. In the last several years, we've had a great opportunity and a lot of support from the leadership in our sheriff's office, our county commissioners, to really try to have impact on our community, our community members that find themselves down and out in the criminal element. They have substance use disorders or mental illness that is impacting them or causing them to come in contact with our law enforcement professionals. And we've really addressed law enforcement in Lincoln County in the last handful of years, basically since we became a Stepping Up Initiative County back in 2016, I believe, and really focus on trying to connect offenders with services to overcome their barriers as early as we possibly can prior to arrest out in the field where we can get them the services they need. We've come a long ways. We've got a lot of successful programs in the sheriff's office that have had a huge impact on your public safety in Lincoln County. To give you one example, we've implemented a pretrial release program, in our jail. That program single-handedly, prior to us implementing that program, our jail was running at 161 bed occupancy. We had 700 people released early from custody in the highest year that we actually were running the jail at that capacity. 700 people did not serve out their full sentence. They were released because of space capacity. We implemented several programs, one being pretrial release, which is an observation and assessment program that we oversee clients that can be released from custody while they're awaiting trial before they've been convicted. And we connect them with resources. We connect them with pretrial specialists who oversee stay in communication with ride and transportation vouchers, communication vouchers, everything they need to be successful. We have since reduced to roughly 20 forced releases a year from 700. Our failed to appear rates in court, which is a big issue, was maxed out at 50%. We were down to 15% because of the monitoring and success of the programs that we've had. With that being said, I will wrap it up, Gene. I care about this community deeply. I've been here serving for 27 years, and I will continue to focus my efforts on bringing revenue and opportunities in to this county, to our community, to ensure that we can serve our population the best way we can to keep you all as safe as possible. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our state Senate candidates for coming here this evening. We appreciate it, and we're anxious to hear from you. So our plan tonight is to give each of you a minute for an opening statement, and then I'll be posing 3 questions to which you'll have 2 minutes to respond to each. And then something we haven't done in other forums, I'm going to give you each 2 minutes to provide a little rebuttal if you hear something that you would like to differ with. So for that reason, we've provided notepads in case you need to take a few notes. And then you'll each have a minute for a closing statement. So I decided to forego the drawing numbers and who goes first, since we're just going back and forth. And because you're right here on my right, we're going to begin with the challenger, Joe Boudreau. Your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, and hello, Dad, for this opportunity to be here today.
Jim, I appreciate your mask. It's really hard to discern what you're saying, so maybe we could ask you to sing it on.
I'll try this.
That's a little better.
Thank you. My name is Joe Boudreau, and I'm ready to be your next senator. I live in Florence with my partner, and 1-year-old daughter, Octavia, where I'm a city councilor, where I own and operate my own business. I'm running for this seat because I believe in District 5. You deserve a senator who knows what it's like to live like them. I've dealt with housing instability, lack of access to health care, and feeling forgotten about, like so many other of us. I want to represent real people in Salem, and be a representative that listens and responds to and fights for what matters freedom. I want to be a legislator that fights for innovative solutions to complex problems that you face. Thank you very much. I apologize. I am not other today with sinus infection. I don't sound like this.
But you've obviously been using your voice to get your chance to get a simple T there. Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Jane. Yeah, as I've been senator these past 4 years, it has been rewarding, interesting, challenging, all at the same time. My goal has always been to make positive, effective change, and sometimes that simply means getting out of the way. I went in 2020 to give the coast our voice. I believe I have kept my promise. We have been able to get record investments, create innovative policies, and tackle some big issues. I hope people have found me to be open to ideas, effective, and always looking out for local community. After all, I'm a former mayor. Speaking of mayors, I'm extremely proud of receiving nearly all the mayors from District 5's endorsement. Democrats, Republicans, and independent mayors have all found good reason to send me back for another 4 years. I'm running again to build on our successes, to champion the small towns off I-5 and up and down the coast, to continue giving the coast a voice, and most importantly, lower the rhetoric in Salem. Thank you.
Thank you. Since you have the microphone, let's give you question. First chance at the first question. Housing issues, economic stability, education, and childcare are all concerns to your constituents and things that you've mentioned in your speeches. There will be a lot of issues on your plate this session. How will you prioritize these issues, and what do you think are the most effective ways legislative action could favorably impact our local communities?
Thank you, Gene. And you're right. All those mentioned are very important and crucial, and to some extent, I think our governor has even declared them a crisis and an emergency. I sit on the Senate Housing Committee as vice chair. I also sit on the Senate Education Committee. Might note in that committee, I'm the only member that hasn't been an administrator or a teacher. And so I get to ask those kind of questions of why. Why are we doing it that way? Especially when education's results aren't where they should be, and our young people are missing out. And Gene, you hit two others, real important, healthcare and childcare, both very important. Both are areas in my field. And what I worked on is 4 corners of economic development, 4 pillars: housing, childcare, healthcare, and education. With those functioning at top element, we create communities where people want to live, where businesses want to do business, and a workforce can develop. I've been noted as a legislative champion for housing by the advocates for housing in the state this past year. And I've also, one of my bills out of the Senate on childcare has actually been nationally rated. It's a pilot program specific for Oregon, and what we're trying to do is find and break barriers so that there could be more child care facilities reaching Senate 5, District 5, 25 to 35 kind of grouping rather than the mega centers or the home care centers. So I'm real proud of all those things, and Jim, that's what I'll be continuing to do, and as well as listen to everything else that's out there. Thank you.
To repeat the specific question, when you're trying to look at the combination of housing issues, economic stability, education, and child care, how will you prioritize these issues, and what do you think are the most effective ways legislative action could favorably impact our communities?
Jean, there's one such solution to this is an multifaceted problem that we need support on various situations. We need to build more housing supply and build it fast. We have people who need to downsize that can't. We have people who are living in apartments and in cars. Need larger facilities and they can't afford it, or they can't find the funding for it. I think in continuing and investing and supporting all options for types of housing is important. I think also the combination of further investment in supportive systems, including the education, healthcare, including behavioral, mental, and mental, would reduce burdens on communities as well, and taxpayers. And these are usually the most common reasons why one would become unhoused. This hits home for me specifically because I myself was going to be unhoused with a 3-month-old infant. Also, from helping hands in Lincoln City, the fastest growing population of people who are becoming unhoused are the elderly and the women, especially with children. I want to make sure that you don't have the same lived experience as I did.
Thank you. Are you ready to tackle number 2?
Oh,
Okay. I'm feeling very sorry for your voice. A local advocacy group is formed to give voice to concerns about the number of recent traffic fatalities that we've seen on Highway 20, and similar accidents occur frequently on the Highway 1822 corridor. Both get heavy traffic driven by tourism and our close connection to the Willamette Valley. How would you address such safety issues as transportation planning and funding decisions are made? How can they compete with the state's big infrastructure needs?
It's a fantastic question. Transportation and infrastructure is vital for our communities. That's how we are able to survive. We rely also heavily on them for tourism activities. That is our lifeblood. I do believe that it is vital to emphasize the importance of these networks and infrastructure, because these are also emergency management ways that we can transport people and goods and services should we have a disaster, including an earthquake, tsunami, hurricane, fires. These are all vital for us to survive, and by emphasizing that, we will be able to direct funding faster that way, including, I'd like to also add the importance of including education and housing in that, because if we don't have ways to get to our schools and our homes in good, efficient, safe ways, we are not able to survive as a community. District 5 is really big and it's fantastic. And so a lot of this transportation concerns is throughout the entire district. Guys.
We'll give you a minute.
Thank you. Transportation, again, like I was mentioning earlier, is vital to the lifeblood of our communities and the stories that we have here on the coast. And I believe that infrastructure is a way that we can fund housing as well. And I appreciate your time and energy with this particular thing and listening to my voice.
Thank you. Moving to the next question.
I'll get to them.
I was just going to offer you lunch.
Oh.
Thank you.
And we'll keep extras. Climate change is a big challenge.
Could I tackle the
Oh, did I not give you a chance?
sheesh? You know, slider.
Chunks. I'm going to repeat.
That'd be great. Thank you.
We're talking about the challenges of safety on the 2018 corridors and the recent fatalities because they get so much traffic back and forth. How would you address such safety issues as transportation when big decisions are made? How can they compete with state's big infrastructure?
Thank you, Gene. And yes, now this opportunity question up to year 2025 is planned for a big transportation package. If you've been paying attention, ODOT has been going around, transportation committee has been going around the state trying to gather information from citizens for an upcoming package. So it leads right into, I had a bill this last session to actually ask ODOT, it asked ODOT to take a look at congestion on 101 and the intersection, the major intersections that are coming into the coast and meeting up with 101. So we'll be doing that again in 2025, just because, it's the number, as I go around the district, it's the number of the 4 item that constituents bring up, whether it's Philomath or Monroe or even Florence on the congestion. So one of the points I'd like to make is enforcement. The sheriff we had up talking what you can do and the staffing in Lincoln County. But take a look at the state police. And I might remind you that since McCall, the population of Oregon has doubled in population. Today, we have less state police officers in force than when McCall was governor. So one of the things we need to do in our overall transportation package is certainly look at enforcement and look at where the issues are happening and make a difference there. I'm hoping the transportation package will have improvements along the way, not just for I-5 in the urban areas, but certainly the state roads and county roads in and around the coast and Senate District 5. Thank you.
James, why don't you hang on to
Okay.
just another minute? Moving on now. Climate change is a big challenge worldwide, but the big picture is too expansive to address in a simple question. 2 pressing issues have become clear in District 5. Those are water availability, specifically the need to replace the Big Creek Dam and reservoir, and wildfire mitigation and recovery. How can the legislature best assist local government in addressing these issues?
Thank you. Gene, I think we already are on the Big Creek Dam and water issues. Representative Gomberg talked about packaging infrastructure packages for housing. As we were gathering that information, we were astounded by the number of projects cities around the state of all sizes put in for their infrastructure, for water and sewer needs that they aren't able to do themselves and need help. And that moves into future water. Where are we? How are we going to handle our needs for future water as we continue to grow? Water is I sit on the Water Caucus. Water is a big issue. It's not just an Eastern Oregon issue. It's the entire state issue. So, we're focusing on that, trying to pay attention. The other thing I've got time, when I drive to Salem, and I'm trying to get there before Gomberg at 6:30 in the morning, up 18, I'm amazed at the number of headlights that are facing me coming west at 6:30 in the morning. Now that tells me we got a huge workforce that travels. And I'm betting most people would like to live in Lincoln County. And so certainly, as already mentioned, and certainly as we've indicated, housing is necessary. just as important, remember those guys are burning fossil fuel. And if we could get them on the road, get them beer, that in itself would help a great deal.
Thank you. To simply restate the question, there's the big picture climate change issues, but here in District 5, I'd like to particularly focus on water availability. And the Big Creek Dam has been mentioned maybe because I live right under it, so I'm pretty concerned about fixing it. And wildfire mitigation and recovery, the things that we can take a stab at it anyway. So how do you think that the legislature can best assist local government in addressing these kinds of issues?
Great question. I think that communities who don't already have plans for their water use and management that include climate mitigation opportunities, I think is important. If you don't have a plan down for it in your cities and your counties, it's hard to convince legislators that you can take and receive funds that benefit those subjects that are most needed. Infrastructure, like mentioned before, is very important, and integrating those into those systems is key in building on the ability to get those funds. While I may not sit on fancy committees at this moment that directly impact climate things in my community and in your community, I still really do care about that and integrating ways that we can make a better place. With our transportation systems, I think it's important to find ways to get people to have less use of traditional transportation, fossil fuels. When we have walking places, people slow down and take a look at life around us, and we pay more attention to that environment and our waterways and what goes into them. I think it's important for communities at all levels to be advocating for their environment, and these are also interlinked to other activities that are also still really important to us.
Thank you. You're a real trooper to push your way through this. Thank you. What I decided to do tonight was give you each a couple of minutes. You could call a rebuttal or maybe whatever I wished I'd have thought of when I had the microphone in my hand before, or however you want to look at that. But we'll give you a couple of minutes to come back to any of these subjects or anything you'd like to mention. And let's start with you, then.
Yeah, they're having a little warm. Gene, Gene, thank you very much. And actually, I think we're very similar in our comments. The difference is, I've been 4 years there, 12 years on local government, 6 of those as mayor in Lincoln City, and understand running city needs, and then interpret that into state legislation or just important. Not everything is about policies. As Representative Gomberg was able to allude to, it's about getting your tax dollars that have been invested in Oregon back to this district. And interestingly, the combination of the representative and I have been unmerciful for Lincoln County, and I think we've benefited the county great deal with the actual dollars back to help cities with infrastructure. That if we didn't do that, you'd be doing a bond which would hit your property taxes. So in essence, we're helping all size communities up and down the coast with these kind of grabbing opportunities. But thank you.
Mm-hmm. Joe?
Really excited to be running for state senate. I've seen government work really well, and I've also seen it work really terribly. And I'm here to make it work really well and have positive impact and change for our district. This is really a special district because we are rural and we are large and we are mighty. And since being elected as a city councilor, I have seen the importance of being able to help my community. And then I have also seen things come down from the state and what a difference that I could make at the state level for you. I know that what it's like to live and walk in rural Oregon, and I want to be a legislator that fights for innovative solutions. I also want to encourage people to continue to be active and involved in their communities. It is absolutely so important because the more stories that we hear, the better ability that we are able to make in Salem. So please do continue to be active like you are tonight here today. I also want to add that my goals when I am elected is to continue to build and strengthen statewide response plans with the disaster mitigation, which does include transportation and housing needs too. Like I had mentioned earlier, almost everything is a multifaceted approach, because if you don't support something over here, something else fails. And I'm very interested in seeing issues in a big way and how they can be solved by real people like us.
Angela, 1 more minute for closing statements, and it starts with you.
Thank you, Gene, and thanks everybody for coming tonight. I'm focused on the issues that matter to your everyday living. The policies coming out of my office will continue to represent that philosophy. Cost of living and lowering your tax burden. Our state has enough taxes. We must tighten the belt and prioritize our expenses. Healthcare solutions to lower your costs and increase your access. Building homes across the whole spectrum, expanding our rental inventory, and making sure we have compassionate shelters. Focusing on education achievements while supporting parents, teachers, and students, while expanding child care and after-school opportunities. Oregon is worth fighting for. Oregon is an incredible place to live, retire. I ask for your vote in November.
Thank you. 1 more minute.
Thank you again for coming tonight, and everyone who was in attendance virtually and not. I'm very excited to put my proven track record of delivering tangible results that make positive impacts. I have a strong and deep ties in various communities, and I'm always building upon them, and they're ever expanding, which enables me to understand, build trust, and address unique needs and concerns of our residents effectively. I bring a fresh perspective, innovation to the table, focusing on forward-thinking policies that address both current challenges and future opportunities for our community. I am deeply excited to help our district with housing, childcare, and access to medical. Access to medical is vital for me. Like many of us have to travel outside of our area, and the red card has come up. So thank you all.
Thank you, Bob, for being here with us this evening.
I'm sorry I missed that.
Give yourself a little break. It's off you on the bit. Right now, we're going to move to the race for our county commissioner. This
That's a question. I don't know if they want. Wait.
Then I'm up here anytime. It's fine. Just put them up there is fine. Okay. We organized here? Yep. I'm very frequently asked the question, what exactly does a county commissioner do? The 3 elected county commissioners are responsible for the oversight and funding of county functions. This is not a partisan position. The county provides basic essential services to the entire county: law enforcement and public safety, health and human services, road maintenance, elections, land use planning, and the governmental functions that fund much of that, such as property assessment and tax collection. Sadly, this race has taken a very partisan and frankly combative flavor. I urge the 2 of you here tonight to focus your comments on your approaches to policy development that will be necessary to carry out county functions during your term of office. I'd like to welcome Claire Hall and Rick Beasley. And I think, as we did before, we'll start with a 1-minute opening statement, and we'll just go down the table here. Claire, go ahead. 1 minute, please.
Thanks, Jean. Thanks to the league. Thanks, everybody. As Jean said, I am Claire Hall. I'm one of your county commissioners, and I hope to bring you a vote tonight. I hope we can talk about a lot of things, including how we saw our way through the pandemic and the Echo Mountain fire. We are bringing significant resources into the community to battle addictions. I have led our efforts to reduce homelessness, and we are making real, visible headway. I've helped to bring in funding for almost 400 new affordable housing units here. I tripled the staffing in our Veterans Center, and that has brought millions of dollars in additional benefits into our community for the men and women who have served us in the armed forces. I started Drug Court, which has turned around many lives and saved money. I've overseen steady expansion of our county transit system. We're building a new animal shelter, a new county commons. A lot of good things are happening, and let's keep Team Lincoln County moving forward in a positive way.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Jean, and thank you to the ladies at the Women's Voters. And thank you. Men West, thank you, Lynn, and everybody who's here tonight. Naturally, I see things a little differently from how Claire sees them. I came here to be lighthearted, actually, in my opening. I feel, along with Jean, that this has been a very difficult race, but it is the race, I think, of the season. But when I see a car accident, I pull over and I try to help, and that's what's going on right here. If you peer closely, we have 1,000 square miles of chaos on important fronts in Lincoln County. We have the erosion of public safety. We have unrelenting homelessness, and a lack of illicit workforce housing. I intend to tackle these things, identify them and tackle them. And more than that, I intend to bring leadership to the position of county commission. We've had an implosion, a very embarrassing implosion, where we've had on the county commission, where we've had walkouts. We've lost communications with our sheriff's department. Thank you. I hope to get into these a little bit deeper, and look forward to this tonight. Thank you. Okay.
I'll let you start the questions. Housing seems to be at the top of most every list of pressing issues, but the subject is complex. One side is commonly called workforce housing. It has a lot of different definitions, but we're talking about housing for people who have or have been offered good jobs here in Lincoln County, but for whom housing is not affordable. Another question concerns people who are unhoused and likely will remain unemployed or need subsidized housing because of disability or age. I'm going to extend the time allotted to the answer to this question to 3 minutes because I understand that it's complex. So it's 3 parts. What's the most significant deterrent for stable workforce housing and or ownership in Lincoln County? And do you see a way for the county to help with this challenge? Is there a glide path for unemployed, unhoused, and homeless people or the disabled to achieve stable housing in Lincoln County? And will continued efforts to regulate short-term rentals in the unincorporated areas of the county be useful or harmful? We'll begin with you, Rick. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Jane. I want to say, first of all, that one of the first things I would look at doing as a commissioner is an audit on the, I think it's $68 million in projects that have occurred here in Lincoln County. A lot of housing units have been built. We need to find out and reassess exactly what it is as we move forward. We have to have an audit to know where we are. We simply can't continue to call for affordable housing and not know what is that housing is going to end up as. Will it be subsidized housing? Will it be more housing for retirees? What we need is housing for the workforce. And we just don't need more government public projects. We need to have housing that people can buy, they can purchase. Governments all over this nation are, because a federal government has, really pulled back on providing housing, governments are looking at creative ways to build workforce housing, not just where you rent, but where you buy. We're doing this at the Grand Ron tribe, as close as that. And I'd like to take a look at that, to take this money, perhaps create a permanent revolving fund that is aimed at the working sector, that gives people a chance to get on the track to wealth. This is how you do it in this country. You have to buy. At the same time, I would like to see housing, upscale housing that is affordable, that has private market amenities like pools and courtyards and fire pits, and get rid of this, this style of housing that many residents in Lincoln City where this is occurring are very disappointed with. And always remember that when we put in housing, $68 million of housing, we also have to put in the infrastructure, which includes police, which includes improvements to intersections, and all of these things that you don't get with that. So there's a lot of unintended consequences in housing, both good and bad. So that's my answer there.
Your wrist.
I see several deterrents to stable workforce housing. Representative Domberg mentioned infrastructure money for celebs. That expansion of their infrastructure is going to allow them to add more homes in the community. NIMBYism is a huge issue, right? In case you haven't heard that term, not in my backyard. The people who say that the well-to-do don't deserve to live next to folks we consider the working poor or on fixed incomes. Certainly, land supply is a major issue because of our geography, and I think it is important for the county, the cities both, to really look at permitting fees, how well they're handling permit applications. Is it being done efficiently? Are we unintentionally putting roadblocks in the way? Now, you asked about a glide path for the homeless and disabled. Absolutely, yes. We have created that, and it is working. Last winter, we got hundreds of people off the streets. We didn't have anybody die of exposure like we did the previous winter when we lost 10 people to weather-related conditions. And we have a glide path getting people into either transitional housing or some of these permanent homes and permanent apartment homes. And the results are phenomenal. An 83-year-old blind man who was helped and with the help of one of our housing navigators, placed in a long-term apartment. A woman I met in the shelter who was in a wheelchair. Her health had deteriorated so badly while she was on the streets. I saw her a few months later at a local retail business, on her feet, greeted me with a happy, cheery, "Hi, Claire," and heard all about her getting into an apartment with her special somebody and getting that job, and life was good. Well, I believe that regulation of short-term rentals will, in the long run, and to some degree, help ease our housing supply problem. It always comes down to supply and demand, and talking to a lot of smart people, including, I hope he doesn't mind if I single him out, because I think he's the last one we talked about this with, Leo Mayor Rod Cross. Prices aren't going to come down until supply has expanded significantly. So.
Thank you. Why don't you can start the second question. We're back now to the 2-minute question answers. Employment. County's primary economic drivers focus heavily on tourism, ocean-related fisheries and science, timber, education, and healthcare. How can the actions of county commissioners best support those vital economic drivers?
Well, first off, I think the important thing is that we partner with other public and private entities to do everything we can to maintain and enhance our overall quality of life. Every one of those businesses, industries, you name, Gene, is dependent on the health of our land, sea, and air. So protecting our environment has to be at or near the top of the list. Certainly helping to facilitate a range of housing options. And I would like to see more homeownership opportunities. And I think the state is heading in that direction. But right now, with such a huge deficit, the focus has been on multifamily development. We can't keep and recruit skilled professionals if there aren't places for them to live. Now, some things like the quality of education and healthcare, we can only touch tangentially at best, but still we can work with our community partners, hopefully, to create new opportunities. Thanks.
Okay. Like anybody take attention?
No, I think I can go with it. I think one of the important things here is we have to create livable wages. Economic development is one thing that this county commission can do on its own, and it can do that by supporting jobs training, relevant jobs that are in today's economy. Another thing we can do is form a jobs task force. We need an after-action report from that jobs task force on job losses. Why we have lost, for example, the mills in Toledo and Philomath. Even though Philomath is not in our county, it affects us. And if you think about it, the only way that we can solve the housing crisis is to build our way out of it, why are we shutting mills down? So we have to get the answers to these issues. Another thing we can do is we can stop demonizing tourists and develop the tourism industry the way that we want it to be. If we want to get rid of STRs, we've got to figure out a way to create that revenue that our governments are losing. Not just the governments, but the people that benefit from those STR taxes, like the aquarium or the general fund. It's millions and millions of dollars. It's a clean industry, and if it's done right, it's an invisible industry. And the county really fell down on the management of STRs. Finally, I would say that we need to address the low worker participation rates in this county. We are at the bottom. We've got too many people that are between the ages of 18 and 54 that aren't doing anything. And we need to put these people to work.
Thank you. We'll start the next question.
Okay.
No, let's let Claire do it.
Wait, you haven't had a chance to say. Or am I?
Wait a minute, no.
Have you answered the second question?
Let me answer it for you.
No, wait a minute. Which was the
It's
second?
your turn. I'm sorry. I am keep better track instead of trying to do things as lots of here. This is the economic development. Right?
Yeah, and I answered it. Yeah, I addressed it. Yeah.
Okay, then we're moving to question number 3. I get my brain going. Emergency preparedness and after disaster responses. Both of you have referenced these in your printed materials. Where do you see the strengths and weaknesses of our efforts? What more should be done? Britt?
Now, I think the county should take the lead in emergency preparation, period. All of our cities are involved to certain degrees in emergency preparation, and I think all of our cities are failing right now. We don't have professionals in many cases that are doing the work. We have to get ready. We have to get every resident ready, every hotel ready, every short-term rental ready. We need to pass countywide legislation to make these things happen. Furthermore, I would like to see the county, through the sheriff's department or the emergency management division, which is under the sheriff, become a leader in emergency management for the entire county, to the point that it can audit cities and tell us if we're doing the right thing. There are cases of where money is just being probably squandered right now. We don't know what we're doing. We need experts to help the cities. And I think this is just one of the areas of corroboration that I want to see the county take the lead in that would really help cities. So that's my plan. Claire?
When it comes to emergency preparedness, I think we are in a continual improvement process. I look back, say, 15 years. The county wasn't doing readiness fairs or educational efforts, and now our emergency management team has blanketed the county, and several of our public safety partners are in on this as well. I think it was the 2005 and 2011 tsunamis did a great job, unfortunately, but they did because of the damage and loss of life. But they did a great job, I think, of helping to create a culture of preparedness that we didn't have before. You know, I think those of you who were here in 2011 will remember the damage to the Depot Bay docks, and that was just a tiny sliver of what could happen. I think our trained professionals, partners, and volunteers are committed and focused. You know, the state has stepped up in a major way like it hasn't before. 2 years ago, I was the board's participant in the week-long Cascadia Rising exercise. In May, Oregon Emergency Management chose Newport as their first site for a mass evacuation center, setting up and operating it, a site where supplies can be brought in a disaster and survivors can be evacuated. You know, we've got plenty of severe floods and fires over the last 20 years, and we've got to be ready, and I think we're steadily getting better at it every day.
Thank you. Again, I'm going to open a couple of minutes for rebuttal or last-minute thoughts or what I wish I'd said the first time. And Rick, will begin with you.
Thank you, Gene. I talked about how the county might be able to step up and help cities in the area of emergency management. But I think it's important that the county set the example on governance in all areas. We really need help. I come from a small town, Depot Bay. I'm on the city council there. We struggle constantly on issues of planning and finances. And I'd like to be able to look to somebody for help. And unfortunately, we can't do that right now. Our county itself lacks leadership. So what I would do is I would strive to help the cities with public safety, on finances. The county itself has struggled with the issue of audits, but our cities right now are really having trouble bringing their audits together. The planning department, I'd like to see the county expand its planning services to help cities. This is a very expensive business, but by combining resources, I think that we could get economies of scale that we've never seen before. We have to make our governments run more efficiently, and the county can play a very large role in that. And as a city councilor, I kind of look to the county to be of great assistance to us, and it's simply not. One example is the dog and pony show that occurs every year when the commissioners go out. You get the feeling they hate it and the cities hate it also. We should be working together. And as a county commissioner, I'd be doing that. I'd be working together with the cities.
I'd like to circle back a little more on the economy and what we're doing, what we can do. You know, we have invested in education, including $500,000 in community and economic development funding for this building. We also helped build the aquarium science building. Every year we have an ongoing allegation to the Small Business Development Center here. Dave Price still here? Of course he is. And Dave,
I'll give him a little project over here.
yeah, I mean that you're creating jobs, you retain jobs 1, 2, 3, 4 at a time, and that doesn't get headlines very much, but it makes a significant economic difference in this community. We have a grant fund for chambers of commerce where the cities do not have significant room tax dollars available to them. We're given an opportunity by the state, the Department of Business Services, during COVID, an optional $1 million small business relief program. We got the money and we got the application and review process set up, and we got all that money out the door in less than a month's time. We provided the first seed money to the Port of Newport that led to the eventual landing of the NOAA fleet here. So we're always on the lookout for opportunities to boost the economy.
We now will give you each 1 minute for your closing statements, beginning with Rick.
Well, thank you, Gene. One of my concerns is leadership. And true leadership, I've learned, fosters respect and unity. We do not have that on our county commission right now. I'm not going to sit here in my last minute and explain why. Just watch the videos of the last 2 meetings. Our county needs to set the tone in governance for all of the cities in the county. We need to be the best government of all the governments in the county. I have probably prepared for this position my whole life. I'm a veteran, a businessman, a journalist. I'm a father, and now I want to serve this county. I don't want a career, but I want to turn this around. And thank you for coming tonight and listening.
No, your closing statement.
Yeah, it's just waiting for the applause to die down.
I understand.
You've heard 2 sharply differing visions of Lincoln County and county government tonight. Obviously, I do not see things the way Rick does in a lot of areas. He's offered up some potentially promising ideas, but I've been doing this job for a long time. I've been doing it well. In the last few years, we've made real visible progress on so many of our most challenging issues, and I have absolutely no doubt we're going to continue to do that. You know, a lot of you have shared with me your stories, your hopes, your dreams. I've observed them all. Inspired me, and you inspired me to continue with this work. People ask me how I accomplish all the things I accomplish, and I say, it's because of you. When I say Claire cares, those aren't just words. They're at the core of my identity. I care about every person in this community, their health, safety, and well-being. I'm honored to serve you. I hope you'll allow me to continue. Thank you.
Thank you to the last candidates for county commissioner. We'll excuse you now briefly. We do have a stack of questions that we're going to try to get to. What we're going to do now is bring up the candidate. I want to take a minute to look at the local government folks that are running and those who were willing to come and chat for a minute with you, because I think local government positions are extremely important. Thank you. We have just a few people here who are running unopposed, but I would like to offer those folks the opportunity to just introduce themselves and give us a really quick 1 minute summary of yourselves. And I don't have my list in front of me of who all's here. So those of you who are running for city government and are unopposed, could you come up front because we need to be near the microphones, please? Cynthia, Rod. Oh, excuse me. Get out of the seat here. So there, we're going to give you 3 spots, share the microphone, okay? And introduce yourselves in the seat you're running. Okay. Look, we'll get quarantined. Don't hold your...
Chad?
Standing in everyone's interest. Thank you for coming to hear all of the candidates. I'm Cynthia Jacoby. I'm on Newport City Council. I have been on Newport City Council for 6 years, and I have found it to be very rewarding to do work in my own backyard. I think I've been able to do some valuable advocacy in public safety, playgrounds, budgeting, etc. Since I am unopposed, I have some extra time, which I want to tell you about a project I'm working on, and that is recycling of all of the political signs and the metal stakes. There will be more information coming out on the best things to do with these, so watch for that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pass it down.
Hi, my name is Steve Nickman, and I'm also running for the Newport City Council. This is my first foray into Minnesota politics, and I'm excited to have an opportunity to give back to a community that has already given me a lot. Only having lived here 4 years, my wife and I chose Newport. We had the good fortune of being able to live essentially anywhere, and chose Oregon and found Newport to be the place that most appealed to us. And as I said, while we're happy as clams to be here, or crabs, I guess, maybe be a better choice. But when a few folks asked me if I would consider running, I very quickly said yes, because the city, this town, this state has given me so much, and I'm excited to be able to give back. I think I see a lot of opportunity for great things in Newport, and a lot of great things are in the works. I've admired the city council working together. The times I've been able to observe them last year or so, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
No. Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah, great. I'm Sandy Rumagoo, and I'm running for filed for the counselor position. And I'm kind of old school for people who've been here a while. I was mayor of the city of Newport from 2013 to 2019. And then I was a counselor of Newport from 2011 to 2013. Okay, now can you? Okay. And then I was on the Board of Education for Oregon Coast Community College from 2003 to 2011 when we built this campus. And it is so great, even now, to come in here and sit. And it's like, roof is all fixed, and, everything is just great. And I now still serve
on the Oregon Coast Community College Budget Committee. I also serve on the Police Advisory Committee in Newport. And then, of course, since I am an artist, I'm on the Visual Arts Committee. So that is me. I'm back again with a good health report card, and I'm willing and ready to go and work with you guys. Thanks.
It doesn't need to go there, just lay it down. Rod.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rod Cross. I'm the current mayor for the city of Toledo. Been a resident of Toledo now for over 28 years. We raised 5 sons there. They all attended Toledo High School. I've coached at Toledo. Now it's called Toledo Junior Senior High School. I've coached there for 24 years. My heart is in my community. Always has been and always will be. It reminds me of the town I grew up in. I grew up in a small town of the Willamette Valley. And the thing I love about Toledo, and I hope that our whole country can get back to this, is we don't all have to agree on everything to be neighborly. We don't have to come to every, thank you. We don't have to sit around and argue over things that we don't have control over. But we can elect those that can make some changes. And one of the things that I've done as mayor of the city of Toledo is we are moving toward a brand new community center because we need one desperately. Normally, we have several venues. They have closed down over the years. So using urban renewal and a joint effort with the Toledo Pool and Recreation District, we are hopefully going to be breaking ground in January on a brand new pool and community center for the city of Toledo.
Thank you.
I'm asking you to come back and keep this job going. This will be the last time that I run. And so there are a lot of projects I want to get wrapped up before that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. These folks are unopposed. They will be there in their current positions, or else there's 3 of them running for 3 open positions. So we thank them for giving us a little bit of time this evening. Now, we do have 2 individuals here who are running with opposition for seats, and I'm going to give them an opportunity to talk a bit. Andrew, and I think I have somebody else. Anyone else here that's running for a seat that I get? City Council. Yes, I'm sorry. I apologize, Kevin. I somehow buried my list. So I'll let you share the microphone. And if you'd each give us just a couple of minutes to tell us a little bit about what you're running for, why you're doing it, who you are, please. Are you ready?
Okay, I guess so. Hi, everyone. I'm Andrew Keating, and I'm running for City Council in Toledo. My goodness. The lucky folks before me get to come up here unopposed. Maybe unopposed, but at least I'm the one here, right? So I am a communicator and an educator at heart. For the last 13 years, I've been in a variety of public service roles across the country. I've lived in basically every state on the East Coast, spent a lot of time in Montana and Colorado, and I moved out here to Lincoln County about 1.5 years ago, and anybody who knows me will tell you that I am kind of thrilled to get involved. Spent a lot of time at a coffee shop up in Lincoln City, for example, when I first moved up here, and Dick Anderson here will tell you that the first time he met me, I made him sit with me for 30 minutes to talk about childcare. That's just the kind of person that I am. When I was out in Colorado, I worked in nonprofits and in higher education to focus on supporting children and their families. I helped the state of Colorado develop their Department of Early Childhood when I was out there, and through some consulting opportunities that I got that allowed for me to work remotely and move out here to the beautiful Oregon coast. I've continued to support that agency a lot while I've been out here, while I'm also building my consultancy to support local organizations, some small businesses across Lincoln County. I'm currently working with the Central Coast Food Web. I do a lot of support around the community here in Toledo.
And at the end of the day, what I'm most interested in doing, if I pick one sort of cause that I'm very, very passionate about, it's going to be revitalizing Main Street in Toledo. Those of you who have been there, you know that Main Street is packed with vacancies in our storefronts. We're going to do a better job of filling that out. And anybody, again, who knows me will tell you that whether I'm elected or not, I'm going to get involved in that. I'm going to work on public and private partnerships. I have a lot of ideas for ways that we can develop that space. We can get sustainable businesses of a wide variety into those storefronts. When we get Main Street on track, we build jobs, we build economic development, we build property value, we make it easier for our local employers to recruit and retain people. It's better for every aspect of our economy, and this is something that we need to do better. We cannot simply say that we want to go back to the way it was 20, 30 years ago. That's not sustainable. There's a reason it's not that way anymore. We need innovative, creative, public and private partnership type solutions to get our economy back on track. And yes, I'm sorry, I keep kind of glancing over the red card. I'm out on time, so I will pass the mic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm glad we're not running against Sue. My name's Kevin Boombaum, and I am a candidate for city council in Lincoln City. In Lincoln City, we have 3 wards, and each ward has 2 councilors. So I'm running for Ward 3, and I do have an opponent for that position. My wife, Jane Mullen, and I bought our house in Cutler City, which is in the south end of Lincoln City, in 2009, and we've lived there full time since 2016. We both grew up in small Oregon towns, and we really feel like we found the place of our dreams. We love living on the coast. We love Lincoln City. We have grandkids in the Lincoln City School District, and we love sharing the history and vibrancy of our community with them. I'm running for council because I want Lincoln City to continue to thrive. I'm a consulting business working with hospice and palliative care agencies, and I'm a member of the Lincoln City Chamber of Commerce. Jane and I volunteer for NOAA and do a regular marine debris survey on a section of beach in Taft. We also volunteer for the Oregon Shores Conservation Coalition and have adopted a mile of beach between Taft and Nelscott. I'm a trombone player and serve as the board president of the Lincoln Pops Big Band, and I'm missing rehearsal right now, where I'll be heading as soon as we wrap up here. For the past 8 years, I've been a member of the Lincoln City Budget Committee, chairing it twice, and I have a deep understanding of the role of city council and the workings of the city. I'd like to build on our city's successes and find ways to improve processes that are not working as well as they could be. We want to maintain Lincoln City's livability. We need to connect our sidewalks throughout the city and account for traffic flow and planning new construction. Lincoln City has the most park open spaces of any town on the Oregon coast, and we need to support our parks. We need to support the community center, the cultural center, and we also need to implement plans to improve our 26 beach access points. We have numerous infrastructure needs, including street maintenance, protecting our watershed, increasing water storage, updating pump stations, and to maintain our financial health, we need to invest prudently. Those are some of the things we're going to be working on, and I'm excited to have that opportunity.
That was your first kind of cut off what you wanted to say, so we'll give you just a short minute to kind of wrap up the closing here.
So I mentioned, of course, that Main Street is my priority, and of course that I'm going to be relentless in my pursuit of this. It's something that I care deeply about. Again, just, Rod here will tell you, I showed up for one city council meeting, and they were struggling with the communications policy for the city, and I'm squirming in the back. Because communication strategy is my specialty. Rod points at the chair and says, "Get in it, Andrew." And for 45 minutes, I sat there and I explained line by line that communications policy. I want to be involved. I do everything I can to be involved. I've quickly joined the board of the Toledo Chamber of Commerce. I am on the city's budget committee. So regardless, again, whether I get elected or not, I'm going to be involved. Just give me the opportunity to be accountable to you. Vote for me, and I can do that work for you and with you, not just kind of on my own.
I would agree that Lincoln City has some similarities to Toledo. One of the things I've learned as I've been going around knocking on doors and talking to people, the thing that people struggle the most with, they have different interpretations, but it's the communication. People feel like they're not being communicated clearly and fully. They don't know how to access permit process information. They don't know how to figure out what the steps are they need to open a business. They don't know what they need to do to move that wall in that building. And I think the communication really comes down to the core of what we do. I totally agree with what Representative Gombeck said earlier. I believe that by working together, we can build our community into a place where we all want to live. But we're a diverse city of varying people of varying backgrounds and viewpoints. Then we'll be most successful if we approach our challenges together.
Thank you very much. We're excused. David, you and I are going to have to figure out how to share this directional line with this one. So I would really request that you keep your questions or your responses very brief. If yes or no works, that's fine too, because if you'd like to give the county commissioner candidates time too. One question that has been asked is where you stand on spraying poisonous products to control weeds.
We'll just pass it down and then we'll bring it back. There we go.
Well, thank you. Everybody here will remember that Lincoln County tried to vote on this measure and then learned that the state had a preemption over these kinds of decisions. I think that preemption should be lifted so that local communities can make decisions about these important local questions.
Stay on with the nice joke. You just keep it.
Spraying for weed abatement? Is that the question?
Pesticides.
I don't really use pesticides, so I don't really have a stand on it. So I would plan on letting a community have a conversation about that. I think that there's varying points of view, and that needs to be discussed.
And yes, I'm a big fan for pushing things down to local government all the way. Though, we must remember that, there are state rules, the state laws, and back to enforcement. Let's make sure those are enforced first and foremost. But decisions how communities want to live and spray and foster their economy should be at the local level. Thank you.
I'm going to try to facilitate keeping this moving here. This question is about infrastructure issues and water pipes need replacement. It's a $4 million project. How can you help?
Every community, as I said before, has infrastructure, such as the state has done a great job under Representative Gomberg's committees and help, and in the legislature, not one person does anything. You need a whole team of people agreeing, and I think that's one infrastructure needs in Oregon are top of the list. I think it's well recognized. The key is getting the funding, and ideally in some kind of a revolving fund, sustainable fund. But yes, it's a huge need.
What's the question again? About
how can Wellport get some help with their infrastructure needs for water?
Thank you. I appreciate that refreshment. Wellport, like many other communities, like Senator Henderson said, we don't necessarily have the tax dollars to help pay for that. It is a big problem. I also think that pulling together the various construction ideas and ways for being able to work with infrastructure, because so many other communities have that are similar to the same issue, to pull together to find solutions that can help each other. Again, it is an infrastructure thing, and farms are not just infrastructure, it's our waters and our water and store water things as well.
I don't know a community that doesn't need help with its water and sewer infrastructure, with aging pipes and underproductive or aging out systems, and all of those costs eventually being passed along to the residents of those communities unless we at the state level step up to help. But let's use Walport as a case study. What can we do in Walport? Let me tell you what I've already done in Walport. I got them $3 million to replace aging water storage facilities, and those new tanks are now coming online. Then I was able to put in new sewer lines going out to the industrial park in Walport. I painted that as an economic development need, but it's really a water and sewer need. And because of that new sewer line, we're going to be able to develop the industrial lands there, including a new animal shelter for Lincoln County that we just broke ground on just a couple of days ago. We need to continue to follow that model. And my office came up with a system of trying to prioritize the 200 different needs that the League of Oregon Cities has identified around the state. We were able to come up with money to fund the first 50. We put a process together to identify which next 50 should be next in line. I'm waiting for the governor's recommended budget to come out because I have urged them to put in their budget to continue the work that we started right here and fund those local projects because there's a serious, serious local need.
Thank you. I have more than one question that deals with the question of abortion and a woman's right to terminate a pregnancy. Where do you stand on this issue?
All right. Are there any women here in this room that want me making their most personal reproductive health care decisions? Are there any men in this room that want me making those decisions for those men or for their families? All right. I am proud to have voted for legislation here in Oregon that protects a woman's right to make their own health care decisions. Longest moments in the country, and that's here in Oregon. I'm extraordinarily frustrated that our national government seems to be looking in another direction. I think there's only problems down the road. We need to turn that around, but we need to make sure that we're protecting reproductive choice here in Oregon. That's our first obligation in staying.
Representative Conver, reproductive health is vital for the success of our communities. I don't think that politicians should be in your doctor's office or in your bedroom. I believe that legislators should make laws that protect access to reproductive health care and access to health care in general. And that includes dental, mental, behavioral, and vision as well. It's key to my campaign that everyone has access to health care, period. As a recent bond, I had to go to Eugene due to an issue with my baby, and I even got in a car accident all the way there. It was an hour here for everybody going to go there. That's not okay. And I have countless people that I've talked to from all over this amazing district who have the same issue of this transportation. Countless stories. We need to be treating people in our communities as well. And again, I don't think the kind of politician should be in your bedroom. What time?
I don't disagree with the things said so far. I will note Joe's comments. The coast is in sheer need of more health care providers. That's one of the things we've been trying to do from day one. The other is, and as Representative Einberg alluded to, in Oregon, and women's rights are ingrained in the Constitution and statutes. I think this question is a good question. It needs to be addressed by every person who's running for federal office. That's where my concern would be. In the state of Oregon, I can't even imagine having to deal with this question one way or the other in the next 4 years. So I have so much faith in a woman and her ability to make her own decision. So thank you.
How come you probably are on the woman's right to use that? I'm sorry, we're not taking questions from the floor. But medical care, it was also asked about in terms of medical insurance and our challenges here in Lincoln County. What can the state do to help with that?
I actually sit on the North Lincoln Health District, have for the last 12 plus years. So I'm well ingrained and knowledgeable about what goes on in the hospital and the needs, and we're challenged on the coast, up and down the coast as I travel. Every one of the hospitals are spilling red ink. It is a tough spot. COVID did not help. Traveling nurses and the coastal personnel has not helped the situation. Staffing issues has not helped. So, the state is looking, and frankly, the reimbursement rate on Medicare is certainly not something that helps any of the practitioners. So the state is all over this, looking to talk with the hospitals, and there are in conversation what we can do and should be doing, because we certainly do need medical, all types of medical, dental, mental health services on the coast.
I'm sorry, guys. Healthcare, like we've all discussed tonight, is very important. I think as a state legislator, it's important to remind our educators who are teaching doctors and other medical professionals to make sure that they come to rural communities to practice medicine. That is the first and foremost most important thing to communicate, because we also have so many people in the medical field that are doctors who are specializing in different fields and wouldn't go into that. And I think that is fabulous. But we also need to add an extra value in the importance of general medicine, general practitioner, and that is still an amazing career path, including for those who are doing nursing and PA work and other medical basic, incredible, dynamic lab work and etc. to be here on the coast. We need to strengthen being able to get people into doing those types of jobs, as well as those trans jobs as well, because without people who are doing UBS and without people who are putting in the piping and electricity, we will not have our clinics and our hospitals that we so badly need.
Well, here in Lincoln County, we've got 2 shiny new hospitals, and I thank the people that helped make that happen. I'm glad they're here. We also need to recognize they have their limitations. They've got their limitations, and too often people that need care are finding they need to go somewhere else to get it, whether you need a root canal or an eye examination, or whether you need to go someplace to get radiation and chemotherapy support on a regular basis. You got to go somewhere else. Now, that's a huge problem here. And part of our problem relates to housing. We talk about the need for housing, and if a doctor can't find a house, we've got a serious housing problem. So that housing challenge permeates the challenge that we've got in finding enough people to provide the health care that we want and need. At the state level, we are working to provide, to bring down the cost of prescriptions and to help people who are at the lowest levels of our economic ladder. And through the Oregon Health Plan, we're reaching a lot of those people. The problem is that dollars are limited. And that means that the dollars we put into healthcare are going to be competing with the dollars that we need to put into our schools, we need to put into housing, we need to put into wildfires, we need to put into our roads. There's a lot of different challenges ahead, and figuring out our priorities and how we balance those necessary needs is going to be the challenge of our next legislative session.
Thank you. I have a question that I'm not sure I fully understand. So I would encourage those of you who are interested in the subject to get back to these legislators, and if your answers are brief, I will understand. Do you support a fair reapportionment of the room tax in Newport?
Well, Gene, I think part of the reason that you're not sure you understand the question is because it's a remarkably complex question. I mean, the general rule in the state of Oregon is that 70% of the money that we collect in room taxes needs to go back into tourism promotion or tourism infrastructure. That's the general rule. However, if you live in a community that implemented a room tax before that law came on the books, the lower portion, the portion of the room tax you had at that time, is not subject to that 70-30 split. So it gets really, really messy. I have tried to raise the question not of whether we change the split, but rather how we define what we're splitting the money into. Now, let me say that a different way. Right now, we put 70%, generally speaking, into tourism and tourism promotion. But what about some of the other costs that are generated by tourism, including public safety and our fire and police services? So I'm hopeful. I anticipate that there's going to be an intense conversation about this issue. It's very divisive here on the coast. Some people rely on tourism to pay their bills. Other people are concerned about the impacts of tourism. Let's have that conversation. A fair balance. Having that conversation will lead us closer to the answer of what a fair balance is.
Yeah. I agree with this initiative comment. I think our communities with the transient lodging tax have issues that are not longer attention I need trying to, and especially with some safety issues as well.
The problem, and that obviously question came from either a city councilor or a mayor or some city. With the problem is cities don't have enough revenue, and they're on the search for no revenue, and blame them. Certainly, it sounds better to tax, yes, and that's what the transit room tax does. I might also give you a little more history. You remember when the state of Oregon legalized marijuana and imposed a 17% tax, I believe, but the state did, and then gave the cities a chance to also tax marijuana in their jurisdiction up to 3%. That was all well and continued to grow as a revenue stream for cities, and cities and counties were excited right up until Measure 110 came along and imposed in that was put a lid on that amount of tax, and anything over that lid went to rightfully to resources for mentally ill and addiction. So it took away a source for the city. So that's one of the problems that we have right now is trying to make sure the cities can afford the services they want to deliver. And I would hope that we could allow cities to decide whether they want to go higher on a marijuana tax or go to the people in their jurisdiction. Right now it's limited to 3%.
Thank you. It's helpful information for all of us, I think. This last question is very simple, and it's a one-word answer, so please stick to that. Who are you supporting for president?
I don't know.
Kamala Harris, probably.
I'll be pleased to support the Democratic ticket, and will be voting for Harris and Waltz. But I also have to say, and I know it's more than a one-word answer.
One-word answer.
Yes. Yeah. I'm very concerned about the future of our nation. Very concerned. We talked a lot tonight here about the things that we have in common and working together and respecting our neighbors, and yet the divisions that this country is facing are deeper and wider than I've seen in my lifetime, and we need to find a way to move beyond that. This election will be the first step.
Great, everyone. We will excuse you and ask the regional candidates. The last question that was presented to me minutes ago, I'm going to answer it because it relates to a ballot measure. Incumbents were asked what their salary is. When I started as a state legislator in 2008, I made $18,000 a year and worked 12 months out of the year. I think they're up to something in the 30 to 35,000 range, and that's the reason there's a ballot measure suggesting that there be a compensation committee, because the legislature themselves will never raise their salaries for themselves. Politically, it's suicidal.
Gene, if I could just interrupt real quickly, it also applies to statewide offices.
I understand that. David, you can't be heard over there. the suggestion of the
Hear the applause now.
but I'm going to make sure all of our viewers at home can hear this as well. The measure suggesting a compensation committee applies to all statewide offices. Our governor frankly makes a difference when you compare it to the kind of job that individual has to do. That's all we're going to talk about. I have a bunch of questions, and I don't know that we're going to get through all of them for the commissioners. We have about 15 to 20 minutes left, so please be brief. Okay, in 30 seconds or less, what are your plans for the next term? Top 3 things for improvement.
With housing, more resources to find addictions, more services to help make sure people have the things they need to be as independent as possible, to not just to survive, but thrive.
Thank you. The first thing I want to do is restore leadership to the county commission, to get the county commission to work together. The county commission really doesn't provide services to you. To me, the role of the county commission is to support the people who do provide the services. The county sheriff, the tax assessor, the treasurer, the clerk, other elected officials. And if the commission is fractured and is unable to conduct the business of the county, then it's not serving the people. It's not serving the other elected officials. Another thing that I would like to do that's top on my list is I want to build out rebuild the bond-down bridges between the county commission and law enforcement. I want to support law enforcement. I want to support the DA. I want to support the courts, and I want to make sure that our jail is fully staffed. Some people say, well, Rick Beasley, all he wants to do is arrest the homeless. That is a complete distortion. It would be more accurate to say, I want to arrest everybody. The idea is that we're letting our county fray at the edges. We need twice as many police that we have now, because they are the front line. They're the ones that deal with the homeless problem. And I just absolutely love to hear our future sheriff, Adam Shanks, talk about the deflection program and how it's going to serve the people of Lincoln County. Thank you.
Madison, okay. Next question relates to the fact that you both have a history as journalists prior to this time. Some have questioned your conservative bias in previous articles that have been written. How do folks know that they can trust both of you to represent us without bias?
Is that a question for Claire? Is that a question for Claire?
The question was aimed at you, Ben. I'm glad we know both of you answered, but I tried to make it as generic as possible.
You know, a conservative bias, I don't see it that way. In fact, let me tell you who Rick Beasley really is. Before he became a candidate for the nonpartisan position of county commission, he was a JFK Democrat. I'm very liberal. I am an absolutist for free speech. I want to help people. Single mothers, I want to help them as much as possible. People on oxygen, I want to help them as much as possible. I want to help people pull themselves out of this drug-induced state that leaves them in this world of homelessness. And we have to have the cooperation of our law enforcement to do that. I don't want a police state. I just want our laws to be enforced evenly among the housed and the unhoused, so that we can lead the kind of lives that we wanted to live when we moved here. Thank you. Your question, Gene?
It relates to your Ministry of Journalism and asks about how people can be sure that your governance is non-biased.
Well, I think you just need to look at my record, both as a working journalist for the News Times, then for the Yaquina Bay group of radio stations for many years, and my record in office. I have worked very hard, and I believe I have earned a reputation for honesty, accuracy, fairness. I've never had to admit to making up an interview out of whole cloth. I've shown an ability to work with people from diverse viewpoints, diverse interests, trying to find common ground and move forward for common good.
Let's switch tracks a bit. I have more than one question that relates to mental health services in Lincoln County. What's the plan to end homelessness, and what's your plan to address mental health and addiction? Claire, let's start with you this time.
Okay. Mental health and addiction issues are a significant secondary driver of homelessness. The number one cause is poverty, but we do need to, and I think we have been making steady progress on building better mental health services, both at the county and our private treatment providers. We've got now multiple firms offering these needed services. And I think that's what we've got on that.
I think, Jan, one of the things that you may have referred to in your opening statement as to about how combative this race is my criticism of the county's homeless plan. I sit on a city council that was given that homeless plan, and I feel like I may be the only person in the county that has read it from beginning to end. The biggest problem with our homeless plan right now in this county is that it completely writes out the role of law enforcement and the sheriff and police departments because they are the front line on homelessness. Now, they're the ones that can contact and give a pathway to people that they need. I believe that it's an opportunity to get people, to clean them up, to get them sober, to get them a doctor, a dentist, a psychologist, find out what the problem is, and help them. We cannot solve homelessness in Multnomah County, in Marion County, and Benton County, but we can solve it here if we put our efforts to it. I don't want a permanent bureaucracy that attracts homeless people without any drug interdiction, but we have to put the word out that if you're going to come to Lincoln County and you're going to cause problems for everybody, we're going to try and help you out and we're going to try and fix you. We're actually going to do something. It's very easy to virtue signal from the bleachers, but thank you.
Let's let him keep the microphone. Ian's moved to a question. There's several questions about homeowner housing, but one was posed as to how many properties the county owns and if any of those could be converted into housing.
You know, I'm not sure how many counties, how many properties the county owns, but I can give you one example. Lincoln City, the city is the largest property owner in Lincoln City. It has 300 acres up at the north end when it purchased about 10 years ago. And it's land like that the government owns that we're going to convert to the kind of housing that we need. And I mentioned the kind of housing that I think we need. First of all, we need an audit that tells us how much more affordable housing we need or how much low-income housing we need, all of these kinds of housing. And I think that the $68 million, we need to determine, has that solved the problem for us? My main concern is we need to, as it was mentioned, we've got doctors, we've got health professionals, teachers, we've got deputy sheriffs that need to move to this county, and they have to have housing, and we need to provide that. We need to build our way out of this. And I want to do it with housing that is income related for workers that they can buy and sell later on when they go on with their lives. Thank you.
And again, the question is relating to.
It relates you to housing. Wondering if how many properties the county owns that might be converted.
The short answer is none. I check on that list periodically, and every one of the properties we're talking about have zoning infrastructure issues. A couple of them are landlocked. So that's really not an option for creating more housing.
Thank you. I think you've talked about other options already tonight. Why don't you keep the microphone? We're going to leave housing after this one. It refers to housing new starts and others that are in homeowners associations and problems with those associations. Wondering if you could support a $3 per unit annual fee to fund education oversight and efficient use of the laws and governing those for homeowners association directors.
Well, this is the first I've heard about that idea. I'd be glad to look into it. I have always been operating under the guidance that HOAs are private entities and that we really have no oversight authority over them.
What? In the past, Claire and I agree.
Let's move on then to
the Middle East will be next.
We'll give you the first shot at this one. Let's see. Rick, how do you feel about pesticides usage for weed control?
That's kind of a broad question because I don't know what kind of pesticides you're talking about. But let me say this. Here's my position on the environment. And this is after decades of, watching and learning. This is after, I am an environmentalist or at least a conservationist, I think would be a better description. Because I hunt and I fish this county. I slither into the deepest, darkest ravines of the Siletz River. And I've come to the conclusion that anything that harms life, I'm not in support of. I'm not in support of wind turbines off the Oregon coast that are going to slice up whales. And I was so glad to see Governor Kotek take a stand on that. I'm not against dioxides or nutrients in our water supplies. We are responsible for the condition of rivers like the Yaquina, the Siletz, my Siuslaw River. We are responsible because we have dumped our own human waste on the farmers' fields for decades, causing algae blooms on these beautiful fish-producing rivers. So I'm against anything that harms life. And if those pesticides that you're referring to are harmful, I'm totally against them. I say no.
Well, this is an issue we dealt with at the county last year when a large spray was announced in the Beaver Creek watershed. We have no legal authority right now. I'm very glad to hear that Senator Anderson and Representative Gomberg are interested in providing a local option here. So we appealed to the landowner, asked him not to spray. He said he would switch from aerial spray to backpack spraying, which at least some people think is less impactful. But I really think that we all have to work together as a team, elected officials, activists, other concerned community members, and try and convince some of the 88 people who are not named Anderson or Gomberg that this is the way we have to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on.
Okay.
What do residents do to get on the list to pave residential roads in unincorporated parts of the county?
I would suggest checking with the county road department. And I don't know that we're doing a lot of new pavement, really any pavement. I think the work is mostly maintenance, maintaining the current quality. And we do have for the most part, our county roads are in exceptional shape, especially compared with some of our neighbors. State highways, different story. Cities, a mixed bag. But the county roads have had good leadership, and I'm okay with how they're at.
Oh, absolutely. In my long and illustrious political career, I started out on a road district in the Glen Eden Beach area, and we had a terrible road that was full of potholes. And so what our road district did was we went out and fixed them. We levied ourselves, and we did that. And I think that's a simple solution. You can't look to county government to solve every single problem. What you can do is you can form a district, whether it's a business improvement district and you want to do things in your commercial zone, or a road improvement district when you want to pave or walk or whatever it is. But, that's how I would approach a road problem.
Tuning onto the microphone. We're going to make this our last question, and I'm going to ask our timer to time it at 2 minutes. I don't want long speeches. I know that we've avoided an issue that you're seeing in the papers tonight. There's a question about transparency in county government. I'd like you to give us your feelings, your definition of transparency, and how the commission meetings should go, without getting into the specific topic that's been covered in the paper, because it's going to be decided before either one of you, whichever of you sits down in January, and because there are too many personnel issues that are confidential. So you've got 2 minutes to address this subject each.
I think I can do it.
Okay.
Claire?
No, go ahead.
I think I can do it in under 2 minutes. If I'm elected to this position, the way I'm going to conduct myself is as an open book, excepting those rare cases where personnel issues or property transactions or union negotiations take place. Everything that I do will be conducted in the open in accordance with the Oregon Open Meetings Act. I'm a realist. I've seen governments, small and large, violate that act, and that's the one thing I won't ever do. In fact, my recommendation to my fellow counselors and to anybody running for office in a small city is always conduct your business in the open. Because if something goes wrong, you will be absolved because of that openness and transparency, because everybody was there at the table or everybody was invited to the table. It's when governments go behind closed doors that they implode, and that the power plays, that occur behind scenes produce bad results. And we've seen that happen here. So what I would like to do is just be open and transparent. I guarantee you that's what earned me 9 OMPA first place awards for writing in the newspaper business. And that's the way I conduct myself. Thank you.
Well, Rick's been hitting the theme a lot of discord, disunity on the commission. For 19 and a half years that I've been in the office, everything's been great. We've had our differences. Terry Thompson and I got into some interesting tug of wars, but we ended up walking away both with greater respect for each other. But what happened with Commissioner Miller, I've never experienced anything like this. I don't know why it happened, because there has been an employee complaint or complaints of bullying and harassment. He was asked to voluntarily work at home to the greatest degree possible. We do have a law firm that will be conducting an investigation. And really, until that's concluded, I can't say anything more about this.
Thank you. Thank you both for being here tonight, and to all of the attentive audience for staying through. We appreciate that.